This one is home. This one is.
Call to order this fine evening, the meeting of the School Board of Southeast Polk. It's November 3rd, 2022 at 5:30 PM. Karen, can I get roll call, please?
Chad,
Here?
Lori,
Here.
Bridget,
Here.
Rick,
Here.
Whitney,
Here.
Brett,
Here.
Tom,
Here. All right, we have a quorum. Dr. Lubnick, are there any changes to the agenda? There are none. All right, can I get a motion?
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second. Karen?
Lori,
Yes.
Bridget,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Whitney,
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Chad,
Yes. All right, letter C, district vision and mission. Do I have a volunteer?
I'll do it. Southeast Polk will learn, lead, live, success for college, career, and civic life. Engage all students in learning a challenging curriculum delivered through quality instruction.
Thank you. On to letter D. Please rise to the pledge of allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
All right, thank you. We received any, okay, we haven't received any public comment cards. So we will move on to financial update for fiscal year 2022.
Good evening, board. As Mr. Kurth brings this up, one of the things that we need to do every year for the outgoing board for the year is the financial analysis or the financial balances for every fund as we have them up here. And you had at our last meeting, you had the year end reports and analysis, but here just shows you the first line is the cash in bank for all funds. Pointing out the general fund, there's $24.5 million. Remember back in 12, we kind of talked about this last meeting. I was borrowing $8 million back in 12 to make our payroll over the summer. So having $24.5 million in the bank is nice. But also more importantly, the fund balances, as you see the general fund balance there growing from 15.6 million to 18.3 million and all those other balances there. Any questions regarding this particular report? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, we're adjourned.
Good night. See you.
Moving to item number 4, the 2022-2023 Board of Education organizational meeting. Call to order. Ms. Haynes, can you take roll?
just a second. Chad,
Here.
Lori,
Here.
Bridget,
Here.
Rick,
Here.
Whitney,
Here.
Brett,
Here.
Tom,
Here. Great, there is a quorum. Item number letter B, election of board officers. Can I take any nominations for board president?
I nominate Lori Slings for president.
Mr. Powell nominates Miss Lori Slings. Is there a second nomination? Hearing none, we can take all those in favor of Ms. Ling's being the board president, say aye.
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 All those opposed, same sign.
No.
Nay.
Passes 5-2. Item B2, election of vice president and the oath of office, excuse me. Ms. Singh, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Iowa, and that you will faithfully and impartially, to the best of your ability, discharge the duties of the office of school board president in the Southeast Polk Community School District as now and hereafter required by law?
I will. Thank you, sir.
So you take over now.
All right, he didn't give me anything to read.
I'll just take nomination.
Okay. Taking nominations for vice president. Do we have anyone willing, making nominations for vice president?
I'd like to nominate Rick Powell for the office of vice president.
Is there any other nominations? Seeing none? Huh? All those in favor say aye. Sorry.
Aye.
Opposed? Sorry for the disarray. Okay, Rick.
Hey, Lori.
Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Iowa, and that you will faithfully and impartially, to the best of your ability, discharge the duties of the office of vice president in the Southeast Polk Community School District as now and hereafter required by law?
I will.
Okay. Wants to just stay here for now?
Whatever you're comfortable with.
Is that okay with you? Sure. All right, is that okay with
Yep,
you? All right.
I keep this.
No.
No.
I'm not gonna even say anything. Okay, moving on to the consent agenda. Need a motion, please.
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Karen, any discussion? Sorry. Karen,
Bridget,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Whitney,
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Chad,
Yes.
Lori,
yes. All right, moving on to old and new business. Confirmation of the next meeting. Can I have a motion?
I motion to approve the dates for the next meeting, November 17th, 2022, and then the following meeting, December 8th, 2022.
Very good. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All right, Karen,
Rick,
Yes.
Whitney,
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Chad,
Yes.
Lori,
yes.
Bridget,
Yes.
All right, item B, appointment of the Board of Education member to District Advisory Committee. Can I have a motion, please? To discuss or just appoint the vice president as normal? How do we do
Motion to
that?
approve Vice President, District Advisory Committee.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion?
Good luck.
Next week.
All right, go ahead, Karen.
Whitney,
No.
Brett,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Chad,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes,
Bridget,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
moving on to item C. The IASB Delegate Assembly Representative. Can I have a motion, please?
Move that Brett Handy be our delegate.
Can I have a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussions? Okay, Karen,
Brett,
Yeah, Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Chad,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Bridget,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Whitney,
Yes. All right, moving on to item D, we need to set the public hearing date for the 2023-2024 academic calendar. Can I have a motion?
Motion to set public hearing for the 23-24 academic calendar.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion on that date? All right, Karen.
Tom,
Yes.
Chad,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Bridget,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Whitney,
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
All right, moving on to topics for discussion. Discussion of early retirement. Mr. Horton.
Good evening. In the folder you've got on the left-hand side, there's kind of a multicolored document looks like this. And I'll be referring to that sort of on and off throughout this, throughout the sort of short presentation I've got tonight. If you recall, obviously, we're gonna have discussion and questions, answers, all that kind of stuff, and then this will come back again at your next meeting for formal vote. But each year we look at early retirement. It's kind of an interesting process. You look at it with sort of like new eyeballs every year. In order to qualify for a employee to qualify for early retirement benefits, there are a number of different criteria. Person needs to be 55 years of age or June 30. Have a minimum of 15 consecutive years of full-time service to the district. Has to successfully complete and submit all paperwork before any and all deadlines. And lastly, the approval of the Board of Education when you vote on these, not only on, in the aggregate, whether you want to move forward with early retirement or not, but individually as well. Early retirement benefits. Currently, there's a $9,000 stipend to each one of these folks. And then there's a possible $1,000 early bird incentive added to that stipend if the person submits all their paperwork before January 3rd. And then lastly, there are 5 years of insurance at the current rate paid by the employer, and any increases in rates go directly to the employee to pay over the course of those 5 years. So it's really at the current rate. Some quick facts there, the document that I referenced earlier. On the classified side, we currently have 43 people who are eligible for early retirement. 11 of them are administrative assistants, 1 bus driver, 2 business office or print shop employees, 8 food service folks, 7 custodian and or maintenance employees, 2 library clerks, and 12 teacher aides. When you look at those 43 people all together, they have an average of 24 years of continuous service to the district, and the average age of these folks is 62. Historically, over the past 9 years, an average of 11% of those eligible will likely retire and receive the early retirement benefits. And that basically figures out to be about 5 people. That's kind of where a number of those statistics with classified employees come from. On the certified side, we have 46 who are eligible, 41 are teachers, 1's a nurse, 2 are directors, 2 are administrators. These 46 people average 24 years of continuous service to the district, and the average age of these people is 59. Historically, over the past 9 years, an average of 23% of those eligible will likely retire and receive early retirement benefits, and that figures to about 11 people. So if you're thinking, how many are we talking about? On average, it would be 5 on the classified side and 11 on the certified side, but who knows? Could be all of them. And we certainly hope not.
And you haven't had any
A lot of-
initial, you haven't had any initial discussions or
No,
polling of,
just.
just look at the numbers, okay?
Obviously, as many of you know, the money that goes to these folks comes from the management fund, and you just saw where the management fund ended. At the end of last fiscal year, and according to Mr. McCom, management fund healthy. Yep, okay. But I can take any questions you might have about these folks, or the situation, or early retirement.
I'd say just a statement. I mean, normally I'm kind of excited about this and excited for employees. And for some reason this year, I'm like, don't leave.
Right.
So
know what
that
you
is,
mean.
yeah, I mean, that's a lot of people and a lot of quality people. So yeah, I don't know. It's a little tougher this year to
You bet.
just say, see you later. I'm gonna say, hey, stay for another couple of years. So
And it's, when the part that gets me are all the numbers of years of experience to go out the door.
mhm.
And all of the things that these people bring to the table. It's a lot to give away, as they go out the door. But at the same time, when it's time, I suppose, for people.
Oh yeah, it's just being selfish. I think right now, I mean, we need them more than ever. So I think after what we've been through and what we're trying to accomplish, I mean, the more experience we have, I mean, I want to keep our good people, but that's why it's kind of like,
Yeah.
maybe we'll just pay more to stay.
It's always kind of a bittersweet experience
Yeah.
each time, for sure.
Any other discussion?
So you had mentioned something about the insurance rate, and so are we marking them at the insurance rate currently or the one after open enrollment closes? Are we in an open?
Yeah, it
enrollment period?
would be at the current rate.
Okay,
It would stay that way for someone who decides to retire. That rate's not gonna change in the next 5 years
Okay.
for the district. Now, it may
Right.
change for that.
I just know that those rates are gonna be changing. At least in my business, they changed, so
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what that's gonna look like. for
Yes,
these guys.
no doubt.
Any other questions?
I would just throw one thing in, and Joe kind of said it at the beginning here. This is one of those things, it's not a requirement. It is 100% at the pleasure of the board. So as we come back on the 17th, that's between now and then, those are the things to think through and ask any questions you have, throw them Joe's way, my way, wherever, Marky's way.
All righty. Thank you.
Thanks.
Mr. Pettit and High School Program of Study.
Good evening, everyone. I provided two documents. One of them's a memo that just has kind of the significant changes. And then the other documents, the, I think, 60-page registration guide. So for the sake of time, I'll go through kind of the shorter document, highlight the significant changes, and then take any questions that anybody has. So there were really two areas where we had some significant changes proposed for next year. One of them is in the business department, the other one's in industrial technology. In the business department, the adjustment is in computer science. Currently, our first computer science course we offer at the high school is AP Computer Science Principles. It's a year-long course, and it's challenging. We are required now by the state to have a computer science course as an offering, and we want to have more of an intro to computer science option for students. So that's really what this adjustment is. Computer Science Foundations is going to be the new course. It's going to be our required course for Chapter 12 that we have to have. It's going to be a prerequisite for AP Computer Science Principles. We will provide kind of a pathway for some of our students to take AP Computer Science Principles next year that won't have to take this prerequisite. They'll have to be like an Algebra 2, kind of an advanced student, since right now we have no prerequisite for that course. But that's really kind of going to be the plan. There's two courses that we will no longer teach. Intro to Video Game Design, which was a course that comes after AP Computer Science Principles, and the AP Computer Science A, or Applications course. We've had very limited numbers of students that have taken that course, And really, there's really good options with DMAC's Career Advantage program for students to take after our AP Computer Science principles. We just think it's a better pathway. So any questions about the business bullets there on computer science?
So was there a low number of students in the computer game? Video game class as
Yeah,
well?
we have one section and it's not a big section.
And this course, the Computer Science Foundations, will be at the high school.
Yes. Yeah, it will be.
But from there, the pathway, they go to DMAC.
So the pathway will be moving forward. There'll be a semester-long computer science foundations course that students can take at the beginning of ninth grade, but they could take it whenever. After they take that course, if they want a second course, they would take the AP Computer Science Principles, which is a year-long course. And then if they want to continue into computer science, then they would go to DMAC and take their career
The
advantage.
additional coursework. Okay.
And DMAC has other options that they could take, whether it was a video game design or things along those lines. So it's really, we're going to have a 3-semester, I guess, computer science program at the high school, and then anything beyond that. Really, there've been pretty limited numbers that really we shouldn't substantiate a section for.
But we're meeting the needs of the students that have been requesting. Okay.
We feel like this will meet our kids' needs more. We feel like that, again, right now, the missing element is we don't have that foundational course. It jumps right into the AP. And AP suggests you don't have to have a prerequisite, but we think that this would be a better option.
For success.
Plus, I like the fact that it's a semester-long course. You know, to jump into your first course ever in a content area and have to be committed to a year-long experience, that might be something that kind of, I don't know, people shy away from. That's the first one. The second one is in industrial technology, and it's not a new course. It's just kind of rebranding what we're doing. If you think about employment through automotives, really there's two kind of strands. It's like maintenance and repair or restoration. And really, we haven't done a whole lot in auto with restoration before. So what we're wanting to do is we're wanting to take our Auto 2 class and have that have more of a restoration focus. So really right now, both Auto 1 and Auto 2 are kind of maintenance and repair. We've done some things with a high mileage video or a high mileage vehicle in our Auto 2. But really, I think that the restoration is something that leads more to our vision of our district when it comes to just, you know, careers and things like that.
So Mr. Pettit, restoration is not auto body, right?
Could be.
It could be.
I mean, like I know last year they took on a project and they restored like a 1925, I don't know what year it was, tractor. So they did some things that did have some rebuilding of engines, but some of it could have been bodywork as well.
Okay.
And this really leads to something that actually we started this year. We have a registered apprenticeship course, which involved a lot of paperwork, community partners. TriVista is the company that we're currently partnering with for a registered apprenticeship. Our students go there, they actually get paid, they work within diesel mechanics. But registered apprenticeship is really an umbrella that could have a lot of different partnerships. So we're wanting to officially put this into our registration guide, continue with the TriVista partnership, build in other areas. Right now, we're talking about something with kind of some manufacturing, sheet metal work, but this could be a lot of different things kind of in the area of industrial technology.
That's a really good program.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, again, our kids, they learn enough at school, then they go into the workforce, learn more, still have connection to school, get high school credit and get paid. And then when they finish, they get employed. So it's a great program for everybody. So those are the significant changes to the registration guide. They might have any questions.
So I don't know if this is the time, but it's a very robust guide. I'm curious, the curriculum and the books and the materials used, is that gone over with the committee? How do those books get into our schools, and then we decide that we're going to teach our students from that?
I'm going to probably defer to Joellen on that one. When it comes to curriculum, you know, our teachers determine priority standards. From priority standards, our teachers do look at resources. We do have a process that they go through, but I'm going to defer to Joellen to kind of give maybe a better answer.
Okay,
to formalize procedures.
thank you.
So in regards to the instructional materials, we follow the same policy that we follow with the elementary and through middle school. We are on a cycle of adoption for our core areas. That would be our math, our sciences, social studies, and English language arts. In regards to some of the other courses, we do it in a case by case. We look at the date of the materials that they're currently using. As we know, in our digital age, not all courses use textbooks. And so we look at the instructional resources, but we go through the same vetting process. We look at our standards. We look at the policies regarding what requirements that the materials need to meet. And we go through those same recommendations for those materials. There are other courses such as AP courses and DMAC dual enrollment courses that have required texts that come along with them with the college credit potential that they hold. So there's a differentiated approach more so at the high school, but all within the same selecting instructional materials policy that we use with other materials.
Because I know that earlier this year, it was the health book that was
Yes.
reviewed. What is the cycle? Where are we now for?
For this upcoming year, we don't have secondary ones that we're looking at. We are looking at K-6 math. So we just kicked that off yesterday, as a matter of fact, the initial meeting with that. So we've been looking at secondary science, but knowing that with the next generation science standards and the phenomena and the performance standards, that a textbook probably isn't the way to go. So looking at the different resources from the National Science website that will help implement in that area.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Academic calendar.
Evening board, Nathan Bell, principal of Spring Creek. I have the distinct honor of serving as the chair for the calendar committee. The committee met mid-October, and each year we just kind of reflect on the current calendar year and look ahead, of course, to the next year and look for corresponding dates and anything that might come up to throw a wrench in the plans. This year was pretty smooth sailing, I would say. The committee actually didn't have to meet for very long, and we met once and we had consensus probably within 30 minutes of the meeting. This year, the calendar for 23-24 is pretty similar to this year's calendar. So a lot of the dates just rolled over. There was one extra day in there that we had to fit in, but we were able to do that. So school would of course start on August 23rd. The last day of school would be Friday, May 24th, which would get us out before the holiday weekend. And then a lot of the staff development days kind of rolled over, with one in September, one in January, and then there's going to be one at the end of the school year for the teachers before their work day. Spring break's the same. Still the Wednesday before Thanksgiving is off. Friday parent teacher conference week in October is again no school day, of course, as well. So, kind of overview. What questions you have?
Looks pretty good.
How many? We had 1,080 hours to. You just probably know where I'm going with this. I'm gonna ask it. So 1,080 hours or 180 days. We have to meet those. How many hours are we actually? Because I know we're over, right? No, we plan for more hours.
Correct. Yeah, the last day of school would be 1,103.
Oh, is it on there?
5 hours.
Same.
That's student hours.
No, gotcha. Okay.
And the conference schedule worked good this year, so consensus on that as well.
Yes, yeah, if you recall, the year before, the Friday of conference week was a staff development day. Feedback from the committee and staff was that they like to have that as a no school day after a longer week. long, short week.
I
should
don't
say.
blame them one bit.
So that remains. That's all.
And so my question comes is obviously last year with the same situation that we had. Yeah, and I like the date that we get out. I think everybody likes that one. The problem we always end up getting into is the snow days.
Mhm.
So coming back one day, if we have one day, so I guess I'd like the board to consider maybe just when we approve this, to prove it to where we don't just come back one day, kind of like what we did, because we, at the end of the year, last year, we ended up,
Can I jump in?
correct me if I'm saying something.
No,
Okay,
I'm just hopefully gonna ease your mind. If you look over on the left-hand column, clear at the bottom. It used to say that those days would be made up. Now it says the board will evaluate and decide.
okay.
I'm not saying that I don't have it in front of me, so I'm
Yeah.
babbling, but. you
Yeah,
can
and I
see-
know we get to choose that at the end of, or at that time, I guess it'd be nice just to. For families to know that ahead that
Oh, if
if
it
we have
was
one
just one
day-
day, sure.
after Memorial or one day after Memorial Day. Probably I would be in favor of not coming back one day, but if we get 2 or consecutive days where we can make it worthwhile to come back for that week. Then probably adjust it. So just something to consider before we vote on it this year to kind of put things in motion ahead of time, I guess.
I'm gonna consider that next winter there won't be any snow at all.
I like that. As I get older, I do not like snow. I don't mind the snow, it's the cold. So if you can keep the cold away and we can still have.
We all think really hard on it.
you know,
Maybe
like
it'll go
Christmas
away.
and those things are good, so. But I'm just throwing that out there, but kudos to the committee. I like the end date. If we can keep the spring weather here all year long, and that's great.
I agree with Brett Handy 100%. And Mr. Bala, so getting back to the hours, which Brett brought up. So we're what, 23 hours past what we have to have? Is that something like that?
No, I think more than that.
More than that? Okay, good.
11:03.
Oh, wait, no, sorry. Yeah, yes, correct.
23 or something like that. So how many hours do you consider a day? 7.5?
I believe 6.5. is
6.5.
considered a Full day.
So we have at least 3 days built in, right?
Yes.
Okay. Just keep that in mind.
You want to up it to 3?
I'm just saying, we have 3 days built in.
You'd be the American hero. I'm just gonna.
No, I'm just saying, why do we build them in if we don't use them? That's just my.
And I get but I get
Yeah.
the administration's thing that more is better.
Right,
It
right.
just, last year, we kind of, each year we go through. Are we gonna make it up and are we not? And
My point last year, and you remember, because I shared it with all of you, is just, I felt the last day of school. I know we have principals in front of us, but. You know, what do the kids get out of it? The ones that are going on vacation are already going to go. They're gonna go. And when you only have half a class, what can you do? I mean, just being a former teacher, just,
yeah, and I think you have that no matter what.
yeah.
Your last day is always the last day and you're gonna make it fun for the kids.
Yeah. Maybe if we could discuss it, not the last month of this school year, but right when we think we're through the winter season and say, hey, we're at 1 or we're at 2. Get, like you said, give families some notice. I would hope we'd all want to do that, you know?
I like the idea of being proactive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, yeah.
That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Val. Thank you, committee.
All right, part 2 of the school improvement discussion.
As we transition here, I guys the chairs and.
All right.
It start raining.
Remember last year they had like a display and stand, yeah.
I know.
Maybe they take none of these, was it Centennial?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Maybe they'll be seeing next meeting.
Oh, that was
The
pretty fun.
discussion was the first one, the first meeting, that just her discussion with us. And this is 2, and then the next.
We should encourage.
Yeah.
I know, because when meeting, I thought the first one we were gonna see these guys.
Right.
Was the second.
Right. I was not, I was just seeing this. The first group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We did that year before.
Like all the details.
Last year, we were stating we required masks for the hybrid was the year before. On school days. Kids, they took away the kids that didn't have computers, they took them away, so they couldn't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would've been nice. Yeah, but hey, we're ready for it. And I talked to Drew, he said that Jason, they pulled all the computers, from that there, but they'd given them to different. You know,
That's an interesting. Staff there and staff members.
Yeah,
Good evening, board.
I mean, like, a little-
One of my favorite
Third
board
grade.
meetings of the year. Next one coming up as well. I'm not sure about everyone else, but what a great opportunity for our wonderful leaders to share all the great things going on in their buildings. And so in order to make sure that we hear from all of the buildings, we bring half in tonight, and then when we meet again on November 17th, we will bring the other half in so that you can hear more about the building improvement plans. Last time that we met, we shared the district improvement plan with the goals. And now you have a chance to hear from each of the individual buildings to share some of the celebrations and opportunities that they are creating throughout this school year. So what we're going to do this evening is each building, we've got the compiled plan up there from each school improvement plan, and their improvement plans are much more intricate and detailed than this. This is a summary for the board meeting tonight, and each building will go through and give you a brief overview of their summary. So what I would ask is that we'll get through all of the buildings, and then we'll have a question and answer session between the board and the leaders who are present here tonight. So that way you can hear from each building, and then if you have questions as we go along, go ahead and jot those down. And after the summary, we will have that opportunity for discussion. So I am going to start with Altoona and Mr. Miller, who is here this evening, and you can share your plan.
Good evening, everybody. It's great to be here, see all of you. Year two is better than year one. For me, so. It's been great to start the year. We have a small, little bit of turnover at Altoona Elementary. We've added a ID program, and we had a third grade teacher that stayed home this year. So 2 new people to the building with an already tenured staff. It's been fantastic. Fortunately for us at Southeast Polk, we're very data rich. So it's what are we doing with that data? What instructional moves are we making with that data to meet the best needs of all of our learners? I feel really good with our approach at Altoona. I'm not going to read verbatim of everything, but one big thing I thought was huge is that 25% of the employees at Altoona are Southeast Polk grads. I think that's a testament to our district. They want to come back home and teach and work, so it's fantastic. The Wednesday early release is crucial for our development, just with our makeup of our staff and who we share with and different things. If it wasn't for that, we'd be hurting. So with that time, it is professional development, but it's also staff development and collaboration time. We're able to look at all that data and divide students for interventionists. We have successfully employed a learning resource recovery teacher, learning recovery support teacher. So thank you for approving that. Temporary 90 days where we have a great thing going. Thank you for all the correction there. But no, we feel good with our plan. My staff, hopefully from our board visit last year, we want to be better tomorrow than we are today. So everything we do, data leads that discussion, but also student first and family first mentality. So we like to plan as teachers, educators, we plan with the best of them, but we don't know what we're going to get until 8:35 that morning. And I'm really proud of how we respond at Altoona. And I guess at this point, I would just open it up to questions.
No, later.
Again, sorry.
Yes, okay, thank you for Altoona, and we are, believe, in alphabetical order, if I did this right. Delaware. So go. And I noticed that not all, but most have linked their school improvement plan here as well. So it's an opportunity to see the bigger plan that goes on. And I will just point out, just like our district improvement plan, it's always a work in progress. We're always revisiting it, adding to it, taking away from it, revising it. So it's never a done. It's something that guides our work throughout the year. And Chelsea Clark is here to visit about Delaware and her coach. You can introduce her, Susan Muller. as well.
Susan Muller, she's here as well. What do you want me to use it?
It's for the public.
For the,
Sorry. So just a few celebrations. I want to, of course, just we prioritize making those connections with our families and parents. And so one thing that we did at the start of the year is create Hello from Delaware postcards and made a goal to make sure we sent as many out as we can to our students and parents and new families and different things like that. So I think by conferences, we sent out about close to 130 postcards, and then we made close to 110 positive parent phone calls as well. So just highlighting just the simple fact that we're connecting naturally with our families. I also want to celebrate our overall proficiency on ISASP. So, you know, though we're never satisfied, I also want to note that of all 3rd through 5th grade students, we had 78% of those students proficient on ELA ISASP, and then 75% of those students proficient on math. And so, like I said, we're excited to see what our strategies and our actions here allow us to do for next year. But I just want to note those two things. I'm going to quickly just tell you how we came about 2 different goal areas, just because it's a little different. And then Susan is going to talk about just a couple strategies, and then I'll finish up with actions, just because I know someone here is probably timing me. So we use, for our culture and climate goal, we use the conditions for learning survey. We had to alter a few things after receiving those performance profile, all the data that we were able to go through. So through that, we, identified that physical safety was our greatest opportunity. And so we are actually targeting a cohort of students that we saw were significantly discrepant from the state average when looking at, the overall feel of a physically safe environment. So that is one goal that we're looking at. So we will be talking about some of those actions. And then talking about an achievement goal, we actually looked at growth instead of proficiency in one of our goals. So Tammy and I met over the summer a few different times and continue to talk about, how can we make this more about the growth that's happening and what type of growth is happening, and how can we track that progress and growth over time to see who's making the right amount of growth or enough growth and who's not, and then what changes do we need to make. So you'll see that we have an ELA goal, a couple ELA goals there that are focused around growth and using Fast Bridge, and Tammy with her wonderful connections with some of our Fast Bridge friends was able to make those connections for us. And we have a nice little way to track that over time. So I'm excited to see what that looks like for us.
And now I have 5 seconds according to Nate's timer over here. No, just kidding. I just wanted to highlight a few of the strategies that we have listed there to help us meet our goal. If you look at culture and climate, we're working on Leader in Me, which all elementaries are doing that, but we're loving being able to teach the 7 habits to our kids. I know Whitney said something about being proactive, and I leaned over and I said, habit number 1 to Chelsea. But even more importantly, we're really enjoying seeing the student leadership grow and their opportunities. We had 45 4th and 5th graders apply for leadership opportunities in our first round, and they're now serving as crossing guards, hallway monitors, lunchbox helpers, and recess equipment managers. And our next group of leaders will be groundskeepers, cafeteria stewards, restroom attendants, and recycling helpers. And then the other strategy I want to highlight is our learning in the area of trauma in the brain. And our counselor, Megan Davenport, and Strat 2 teacher, Elena Diedrich, have been leading staff members through that learning. And I so far have learned that the limbic system houses the feeling part, and the neocortex houses the thinking part. And that traumatized children are unable to self-soothe themselves. So the biggest quote or the biggest thing that I've taken away from that is that the only behavior that teachers can control is their own. And then in the areas of ELA and math, not a lot of big changes happening there, except we're expanding the structured literacy into 3-5 with syllabication and morphology, and providing rigorous learning opportunities so that all students, whether they've already met the standard or they're learning to work still towards that standard, are showing growth.
I'll just quickly highlight this. So some of our actions, we developed protocol and a structure for instructional rounds and went through that with our leadership team and also our staff yesterday. So we're excited to start having more conversations about what we see and the great things we see, and also, you know, those problems of practice, like where are we going to be able to grow? And what steps are we taking for that? She mentioned rigorous learning opportunities. We're working on a study. Our building leaders are looking at understanding rigor in the classroom. And so we're excited to start looking at the Marzano taxonomy and where the level of rigor is at the standard and what's actually happening at the core of our instructions. And are we moving beyond the standard? So are we moving beyond retrieval and comprehension and moving into knowledge utilization? And then one thing I want to highlight with Susan is that she is using the results-based coaching tool to see what her impact is with her instructional coaching cycles. And I think she has about 10 teachers on board right now. So we're really excited about that. I was able to witness her using that model and one of her, coaching conversations, and just how she uses that model, which you'll be able to see at one of our board visits or at our board visit. How we use that to now, systematically look at our coaching cycles and how it's impacting student achievement. So even though I'm over the time, thank you for your time. And we're excited to see you in December.
All right, thank you, Delaware, and I think.
That's gonna be tough to follow.
There we go.
All
And
right.
now we have 4 Mile Elementary. We have our principal, Katie Steenhook, and their instructional coach, Michelle Simmons.
Good to see all of you. As most of you know, I missed the first 6 weeks of school with the double knee replacement surgery, and being back has been great. I missed 4 Mile. I missed all of these wonderful people. And so being back has just reminded me of how special Southeast Polk is. I will try to keep it short, but I could go on and on about all the great things that are happening and the things that we're trying to work on and grow from. This year, our theme is Be the Leader. The t-shirts that we have for staff and pretty soon students as well. It says Be the Leader, but then actually it says Follow Leader, follows crossed out, and it says Be. And we're just reminding the kids and the staff that everybody has a leadership gift within them. And, we even hear it from staff sometimes like, well, I don't know what my leadership gift is. And so we have been trying to involve all staff, not just the staff who are model teachers or instructional coach or other leaders, but trying to help them find how they can contribute. And we're doing the same for the kids. And so we are working also on Leader and Me, like the rest of the folks here in the elementary and at Spring Creek. And we have pieces of that that we are studying, and eventually we'll get our clubs and our leadership roles set. I will not go over, I won't read all of this to you, but I would like to share with you some of the things that we're doing academically and then with the social emotional learning piece. With the goals, like Chelsea said, for literacy this year for pre-K 2, we met with our leadership team of teachers and we really wanted to start analyzing growth. And like Chelsea said, are we making adequate growth? Like not just how many kids are meeting benchmark, but are they making over a year's growth in literacy every year? And who's making that growth, who's not? And so we did change our goal this year. It's a growth goal. 3 through 5, our leadership team wanted to keep it as a proficiency goal. How many kids are meeting benchmark or exceeding benchmark? So in the areas of literacy, some of the things that we're doing this year, after we went to a great conference this summer, Joellen took principals and a lot of teacher leaders to a conference up in Cedar Falls. And one of the sessions that we attended was about aligning your school improvement plan with everything you do. And I felt like we were already on the right track, but we went back and took that information and studied it as a team. And we feel like we are more laser focused this year than ever everything's aligned. So our WIN groups, which is are part of our MTSS, that's aligned to our school improvement goals. This year, the teachers' professional growth plans, they're all aligned to a school improvement goal, especially in the area of literacy. We also decided after attending that great conference that we needed vertical collaboration teams, which are new this year. We have a K-2 math team, a K-2 literacy team, reading team, and a K-2 writing team, right? And then we also have a 3-5 math, writing, and reading. So we have teachers from every team from every grade level as a team talking about our instruction. But again, we use our school improvement plan goals as the lens for those meetings. And we're meeting once a month and we're getting great feedback from those teams on how they're going. Also in the area of literacy, monthly now, Carrie Bernstein, the district language arts coordinator, is coming in and she's providing PD to our teachers in the morning. But again, her PD is directly aligned to what's in our school improvement plan on strategies that we want to be using with kids. So we're trying to keep everything aligned and focused so it's not so overwhelming for everybody. You want to talk about math? Okay.
So in the area of math, we are looking at our grades, 2nd through 5th graders demonstrating proficiency and grade level and priority standards on unit post assessments to have them increase from 64% to 80% this year. And how we're going to monitor that is by leadership walkthroughs. We'll be collecting data and providing feedback using number sense routines, fact fluency, board problems, and spiral review. Also, I want to.
We just remind each other of things. So if she suddenly like punches me or something, it's to remind me.
I did want to say, that's all it takes. I did want to say that we are really focusing on keeping the school improvement plan in front a lot, bringing that forward and bringing it forward into our PLC conversations, just so that the teachers know that we have committed to this and we want to improve. So it's not something that we just do in the fall and look again at the end of the year. We look at it monthly, if not bi-weekly. So.
And then the last area, I know I'm close to my 3 minutes, if not over. Social emotional learning is one of the areas that our leadership team wanted to really take a look at the conditions of learning data from last spring. And so they got into the data, they dug into each question. And we decided as a goal that one of the ways we could monitor that was to just monitor our percentage of office referrals coming in. Sounds like, well, like how does that number align? But if we're following the Rams way, and if we're following the leader and me habits that we're studying, then those office referrals should go down. And so we feel like that's a way to monitor that. This year, we started a new social emotional learning time on Wednesdays. It's 30 minutes. Everybody school-wide is in their classroom doing class community activities. Teachers can decide if they want to teach leader and me curriculum, if they want to do more Rams way review. They could do like other things, use other resources also. We are getting great feedback from that. We created a weekly calendar for the staff so they can keep it all in check, like which habit are we focusing on this week? Which Rams way are we, habit or expectation are we focusing on? And then we honestly learned this from all of our teammates from the other schools. This year, we've dug in and committed to having more class meetings as well, because we know that we need to reconnect with kids as often as possible. So we learn from each other. I take their good ideas and then we implement them at 4 Mile and we just make them work for us. So thank you. And I'll pass it on to Reynolds, right? Reynolds.
Poor Steve, look at him. Look at Steve.
I did
Pass them.
I'd give it to Reynolds. That was strong.
Right, Mr. Nicodemus.
Yes. Hi, good evening. Mike Nicodemus, Principal Reynolds Elementary. I appreciate you coming down to Reynolds last week. It was a great visit. I hope you enjoyed it. And I just want to throw back at you for just a few seconds. What did you see? What did you learn at Reynolds? Anybody that was there that would like to share? Give you a few seconds.
The aquaponics thing was awesome, and like learning about how the kids are like basically they're sprouting those seeds and then they're growing them and making things that they can eat. I think that's really an awesome hands-on experience. That was one thing. Another would be the playground, and that track is like super bouncy. So Tammy, if you need something easy to walk on with your knees, like. But you talked about how that really helps with behavior too on the playground, that they can spread out more. And I thought that was cool.
Anybody else want to share anything? Thank you, Chad. Appreciate it.
Chad summarized you pretty good. Go ahead.
So to say, I learned about a literacy strategy in, I think, Mrs. Nave's room. She showed me, and I can't remember, if there's some person's name is the technique, and she showed me how it would help students learn how hard. Yes, that was it. She showed me how that worked, and I thought that was pretty cool.
Well, thank you. Anybody else? I appreciate you coming down. It was great. It was great to have you go around our school. You know, just as you walked around the school, I hope you saw smiles and saw students enjoying their time at Reynolds. The teachers work so hard, the students work so hard. The community there is so supportive. We just had a PTA meeting the other night, and they want to help our students and staff no matter what. And so no matter what it takes, and they just say, whatever you need, we will help provide. And I want to thank the board. I want to thank all the community members for the effort with the track, the money that they provided. And even the PTA put a lot of money into it, but it's a community effort. So the track out there is amazing. It does get our students moving more than they've ever moved before. And we always talk about the mind and the soul and getting students moving more and just taking care of their bodies. That track has been amazing for our students. And so thank you for coming out. I do appreciate that. Just a few things that I want to highlight. This form here that I shared is our scores. Our student scores are great. There's one area that I shared the other day that was not where we want to be, and that was our 5th grade. And so we're working hard to get those scores up. And so hopefully the 4th grade, these are last year's scores. So the 4th grade moving up, we will raise those scores up in 5th grade. And some of the things that, you know, Jane Beecham, Carrie Bernstein, Christy Silman, and Kirsten McGinnigan have been providing great professional development for us in math and reading, and also in the 7 habits of highly effective people. And so I want to thank all those people for providing that to our staff, because we want to become better people as ourselves, so we can be better for our students. And so that's what the 7 habits provides for our staff, and so we can meet the needs of our students. And that's one thing we've seen over the last couple of years is how do we become better people as in helping students who are struggling, because we have more students at Reynolds that are struggling mentally, physically. And so we want to make sure that we meet their needs. And Christy Stillman, our counselor, has done an amazing job helping our students and just the whole staff. And so she's been providing leadership in those areas and just running around. She goes between Reynolds and Mitchellville. And so just her help and having a therapist there this year also helps us too. So we do appreciate that. You know, when you walked in the door, you had some 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders who greeted you. Those are our ambassadors. And so, you know, they stepped up, they greeted you, you know, with open arms, and then they shared that their favorite part about Reynolds. And I thought they did a great job. And so that's just an opportunity that we provide our students to have leadership opportunities. And that's what we want. We want students to step up, take a foot forward. May it be in the classroom, maybe on the playground, where maybe we want our students stepping up and being leaders in the building. So we want to give opportunities to them, hand out Rams Away awards, but also new to us doing this year some drawings for our students to attend Iowa Wild games, some Buccaneers games. So we are having a ball handing out those tickets to students. Students are excited to get some of those tickets to go to these events. And so I want to thank the community also for providing those opportunities for our students to attend. So again, thank you for your support. Thank you for attending the other day, and hand it off.
Yeah, just yet. So now Spring Creek, yeah. This is working.
Good evening, Nathan Ballo. Proud to be the principal at Spring Creek, and Ms. Jenny Reinhardt is the student assistance manager at Spring Creek as well. I'm happy to report we're having an outstanding year. It truly is a great year. We have an awesome group of students, and I recently told my colleagues, thank you for getting the 5th graders ready to come on to Spring Creek, because they are just off to a fantastic start. Like our entire staff is truly amazed at how polite and respectful and kind and hardworking our students are. So we're really able to raise the bar really high because our students are willing to respond and work hard. Want to highlight a few celebrations at Spring Creek from our ISAS last year. Our math proficiency rate is 14% higher than the state average. Then every subgroup in math showed growth. So we're very proud of the accomplishments that are happening in our math department.
We have a new schedule at Spring Creek this year. We're kind of more of a middle school schedule and setting now, and that's really opened up a lot of doors and helped with a lot of areas that I observed in my first year as principal at Spring Creek that needed some attention. And it's amazing what some small changes throughout a school day can make for our students and our staff as well. So our schedule, probably the thing we're most proud of is we're able to provide targeted academic support or enrichment for our students every day. So a 70-minute win period stands for what I need. Our students are getting individual personalized support or enrichment at that time. Also, we are Leader in Me has really taken off, and a part of our Leader in Me program, and Jenny will talk about here in a second, is every staff member is on an action team. So we have an action team that aligns with our school improvement plan and the goals that we have for our school. So every staff member is stepping into a leadership role on our action teams. Our action teams include family engagement, equity, school safety, student leadership roles, our staff synergy team, and our Ramsway lessons. So it's kind of a everybody's chipping in to help out with all the most important things we have in our school.
Our Leader in Me program is off to a great start today. In fact, our kids got their first, they had their job assignments earlier this week. They reported to work for the first time today during Ramsway. Definitely a positive vibe in the building. They're really excited to do those jobs. Our Ramsway group meets every single day for 20 minutes. So the kids are working on different things from Obeis to Leader in Me programming to social emotional guidance. All of those things are happening every day in those class periods. And then we're also implementing this year a restorative practices program. So really working at giving our kids a voice and talking to them when there is conflict in the building or they have a concern about something happening in the building, they can use their voice and share with us what's going on.
We have 4 goals in our school improvement plan this year. Math, English language arts. So we're combining our reading and writing, equity, and culture and climate. And these are 4 areas that our staff had identified that we want to focus on. Our math goal, just trying to increase from 79% overall proficiency in the building to 83% is our goal. And our teachers work together to come up with action steps and strategies that they are committed to doing in their classroom on a regular basis that are best practices in teaching math. And along with that, our equity goal that I was going to talk about as well, that's something our staff's very passionate about. Our conditions for learning data and some of our student achievement data would suggest that some of our students are maybe don't have the same opportunities in our school. So you've heard me say it before, we're going to knock down every barrier that we can to make sure every Spring Creek student has the same access to any opportunities we offer in our school. And so I'm very proud of the work that our staff is doing. We really focused on kind of equity at the building wide level. And now our action team, our equity action team is focusing on what can we do at the classroom level at this time. So that's kind of where we're shifting our attention while we continue to work on the building level. So we're very proud of the work that's happening there.
Our ELA goal is looking at increasing that composite score for our students from 70% to 75% proficient on those ISAS tests. The strategies and actions that you see listed there, those are not just for our ELA teachers. They came up with those strategies. Our other content areas, science, social studies, are also taking the lead in helping get those strategies into the kids' hands and helping them improve that reading and writing score when we come to ISAS in the spring. And then our other goal is climate and culture and focusing on our students having a positive climate and culture experience at Spring Creek. And we're doing that through our Obeis program, PBIS. The conditions of learning survey is measuring that for us, our Leader in Me program. And so far, we feel like we're off to a really good start in that area.
And lastly, we have a couple of book studies going on that are aligned with our school improvement goals that our teachers are running the book study and will present and share with the entire staff. So we look forward to seeing you next Tuesday, November 8th, Election Day. Come on over to Spring Creek at 10 a.m. Love to have you interact with our kids. They'll be excited to have you in the building that day. Thank you.
Oh.
Finally.
Mr. Pettit.
Okay, we get a new school. All right, well, I'm gonna speak slowly, unlike all of you who tried to get as many words in as 3 minutes as you do. I'm not gonna go through any of this stuff on the front page. I mean, you've seen all that stuff. If you have questions, there's time for questions. Celebrations, we're doing a really good job in our building at standard reference grade. I think that's a lot more complicated than people understand. So I'm gonna try to make it simple.
First step is teachers have to identify priority standards. The next step is you have to make sure that you're assessing students on the priority standards. So your assessments have to be revised and created. Then you have to actually put interventions together when kids don't do well on those assessments to measure standards that you prioritize. So we're doing a really good job of that. We haven't implemented all the way across the building, but our goal will be to do that by next year. I presented on our AP results earlier in the year. Those were the best in school history, so that was great. COVID kind of put really made a lot of things different. So we kind of paused our MVP programming for a while, just because we couldn't put different groups of kids together, but we returned to that last year. And that's great. We're going to make some adjustments with our MVP program this year to really kind of address one of our goals, which is really student-to-student interactions. To have MVP be an avenue to address that. Core instruction we felt was good last year. I put a couple of pieces of data in there. In the 1920 school year, which up until COVID hit in March, students scored 71% of our students scored a B- or better on classroom assessments. So that was pre-COVID. Last year, we were at 72.5. So our classroom assessments results were better than pre-COVID. So I thought that was something to celebrate. We also implemented really a new schedule that had a morning MTSS period. We had 22,000 kids sign up for help sessions. Or we had 1,500 kids, excuse me, sign up for 22,000 help sessions. We have a lot of kids in high school, but we don't have. Okay. So another thing, at the conference this summer, I think one of the concepts was to think skinny when it comes to school improvement plans. So we really try to look at what do we have the most control of? We have the most control of what we teach every day in our classrooms. So we need to have our goals based on how well kids are doing on what we're teaching in classrooms every single day at every single course throughout the high school. So our goals are based off of course grades. I work with Rob Timmons. We've got kind of a dashboard, which really every week I update it to kind of see how our kids are doing in every class we teach across the building. So our goal is to get 75% of our course grades to be at that B- range or higher. Last year, we were 68.6%. As of the end of the first quarter, we were at 73.18. So we made about a 5% increase at the end of the first quarter, which is really good. The second and third academic goal are based really off of MTSS. It's getting kids to kind of a C- range. We think about college and career readiness and kind of how much prerequisite knowledge do you need in order to be successful in the next class. That C- range is really kind of the minimum you would need to know to be successful moving forward. So we set a goal to have 87% of our course grades to be at that C- range. Last year, we were 84.8. And at the end of the first quarter, we're at 87.45. So we're meeting that goal right now, which is great. And then kind of a passing rate. If you don't pass classes, you can't graduate high school, right? So we want 96% of all of our course grades to be passing. Last year, we were at 94 and some change, and we're about right there this year. So those are our academic goals. We set an attendance goal last year. Our attendance at the high school was about 92%. It was the lowest attendance we've had. We like to be 95%. At the end of the first quarter, about 93.9. So we're climbing back up in the right direction. We've still got some work to go there. Kind of our strategies for that is we need to talk to kids about how important it is to come to school. We need to talk to families how important it is to get their kids to come to school. And it can't just be administrators and counselors that are talking to families and kids about coming to school. Everybody has to talk about how important it is and how happy we are to see you. So, just being a little bit more intentional behind the adults' actions to make sure kids know that showing up every day is a life skill. And that's something that all of us have to do, right? And then the last goal I mentioned earlier was just our student-to-student relationships. That was something our conditions for learning survey results weren't great last year when it comes to that. And that's a focus for us. So with that, I will pass the mic to Joellen.
Well, I'm gonna keep it here in case people have questions and we'll go there. So thank you. It's great to hear all the wonderful things that are going on in our buildings at Southeast Polk. And I will open it up to the board and you can ask questions specifically, or you can ask in general and people can contribute and we'll just get a back and forth dialogue to learn more about the improvement plans at Southeast Polk.
Probably the most shocking number that I saw was the conditions of learning percentages. And I'm wondering if you feel like that data that we're getting from that survey is consistent with what you see like every day in the building. Because I mean, you're also measuring like your positive referrals and the not so positive ones. So I guess what are you guys seeing? I don't know if anyone wants to jump in, but
overall, like at 4 Mile, for example, we were happy with our conditions of learning data, except for one area. It was emotional safety. And so the staff, I mean, we were at 48%. And actually that was higher than the state average. And so that immediately, to me, gave me some red flags, like if 48% is not okay, and if that's higher than what the state average is there something in those questions? Is there something that we're missing? And so I never liked, and this is from my curriculum background, I never like to blame the test. I never like to blame the questions. I always feel like there's something, like the numbers do tell something.
Mhm.
So as a staff, like we dug in to what the questions were, because you can go back and look at what those are, how the kid, like overall for each one. That is one particularly that I don't know if that reflects completely where we're at Southeast Polk. I think in general, none of us did well in that area. And so I think that area alone, I don't know if I particularly think those are great questions, but on some of the other ones, I felt like it was reflective of the areas that we would say we need to grow in. I don't always know if those percentages were necessarily what I would give the number on, but I'm like, well, that matched a conversation we had as a leadership team. So does that make sense? I don't know.
It does, and I will just add in there that as a curriculum person, I'm going to say some of those questions are a little wonky and the way they score it is unique. Having said that, we can learn from the trends and patterns, and as Tammy suggested, going in question by question is beneficial. One thing that we noticed from the district level, and I think I mentioned this last time, at the elementary level, the lower area was emotional safety. And if you think about the conditions over the last few years and kids, not being able to predict what's happening, that impacts emotional safety. And then as we get into the secondary level, it was more student to student. And one of your wife's teachers at the high school, that aligns with students who are younger look to the adults for their safety. And as students get older, they look to each other. So I think it kind of reflects the context that we're all working in. So I think we really have to look at it from a big picture because it is a unique survey. There are things that we can learn and we just have to dig deeper at a deeper level. I'd like to mention something too about that.
Yeah, can I say something real quick? The thing I was gonna say is, talking about the survey the students take, just through COVID and stuff like that, kids were home on technology and on their cell phones. And so, moving forward, one of our goals is, just getting kids to interact with each other. I think they kind of struggle with that. They like to text each other, they like to Snapchat, whatever it is. But at school, we can kind of control that a little bit so they can work together and, put them in groups and, just take that technology out of their hand because they have to work together. They have to work together, eye to eye with each other instead of doing something on their, gaming or, on their cell phone. So I think that's one thing, social interaction is very important for students still. And so we want to make sure that that's one thing we push forward with, and hopefully doing some of those things at school, kids working together in groups, that'll help some of the scores too.
So I just want to quickly mention, we've talked about this with our leadership team and our staff over and over and over again, and have dug through every piece of this assessment. And it's really easy to say we don't like the questions. We don't like that anytime a child answers sometimes that it automatically negatively affects your score. And so it's easy to say that. But I think one thing that our new school counselor, who's her first year with us, she came from Urbandale, her name's Megan Davenport. She, spoke to the staff and ensured that we understood that perception is reality. And at some point we have to stop looking at like whether we're happy they're measuring this question or what it looks like or not. And we have to understand that what are the actions that we are doing, or what are we doing that can, I guess, change those results for the better, whether it's at 43% or whatever the number is. And so we stole this idea from the junior high, who's not even here to talk about that tonight, but you'll probably hear from them. But he mentioned in our principals meeting that he's doing surveys. And so for our school counselor, Megan, she actually developed a survey that she has gone through with the all third, fourth, and fifth grade students this week during her guidance lessons. And I have access to all that survey information right now. And one of the questions, she has like layers of questions in there. And it's like not the questions exactly that you would see on the assessment, but it allows us to gauge a better understanding of like where our students are at. For example, this question is not on the conditions for learning survey, but one question she asked is, do you have an adult outside of your classroom teacher that you feel connected to? And that we looked at that today, and it is it's quite telling what the results were. And whereas so many had an additional adult to connect to, we have a number of students that said they don't have another student. They couldn't name a specific adult outside of their classroom teacher that they feel that they could go to if they need something. So one thing we're doing with that survey data is of course, as a staff, we're going to be looking at that, and we're going to be targeting many lessons around in our morning meetings around some of the things that we notice. And her guidance lessons will be around some of those areas as well. But one other thing she's doing next week is now she's going to go in and she's going to show some of these graphs, and she's going to be able to have conversations with students just in a general understanding over what, how do we look at this and what does this actually mean and how can we better support you, but also hear from the students themselves. And they have this voice now too, so that we can, instead of perceiving it as something negative, see this as an opportunity for us to look at the reality in that our scores weren't great in emotional safety and physical safety. Whereas I wouldn't say look out our hallways and feel that that's the case, but that doesn't mean that there's not things that we're not recognizing as a staff that I'm hoping that we can, I guess, be able to do something about now with this information. So thanks junior high for the idea.
I was gonna ask about that item of the physical safety that kind of shocked me, like how unsafe, and wondering how that was phrased, or if it got into like specific, types of physical safety.
Yes.
And kind of where you thought that was coming from, like, are they specifically, like health safety or intruders or?
No, it's so some of the questions say my books were damaged. Yes, they were. No, they weren't. Sometimes they were, and those are other options. My what are the other ones? Yes, so my books, my belongings, coat, something like that were stolen. Yes, sometimes no.
Okay.
Sometimes the questions aren't my stuff is stolen.
Yeah.
I know people who have had things stolen.
Okay.
So it's perception of what they think is going on to others, which is sometimes a little bit harder.
And then what's very interesting is it flips the question. I have stolen someone's books, belongings, and
Interesting.
you'll see the results of that are that no one stole anything. But someone saw someone else get something stolen from them. But again, perception's reality. So that's what we're going with and moving forward.
Is
Good question.
Is that in the other buildings? Are you seeing similar results to that? Like the percentage? Okay. Interesting. Thank you.
I
Chelsea just said it was about, perception you see from others and then. So we have a question on relationship with our biggest area around. So, and the question is about students are respectful of other students. And pretty low responses, and that I'm respectful of other students. So that's, it's the reality. We need to be more accepting, respectful of different opinions, different everything.
Back to explicit instruction. And so it's actually like targeting and having those explicit conversations around those areas that I feel like we assume, no, they're not gonna feel this way, but we can't assume that that's how they're feeling, because this is our reality, and this is what this survey is telling us.
So I wrote down a few words for each one of the schools, but the one that I kept rewriting was holistic. You're looking at the student as an entire person. You're not just looking at them in this one little silo. And I think that's great. And hopefully during the parent teacher conferences, you relay that to the parents. I know that, I think it was you guys who had over 100 postcards back to the parents or to the families. So hopefully there's integration between the families and the students and the teachers, so that we can get our students to where they need to be as a group and as a community. So, and I see you guys working on that, so that's great. So I thank you for that. And I do like the fact that the principals are collaborating with each other across buildings. It was funny because before I joined the board, I had certain opinions of certain schools, and I see now that that behaviors in one school is spreading to other schools. And I think that's really neat that you guys are collaborating. So, and I think the instructional coaches have something to do with that too. So good job. I did have a question. What is the classroom meetings?
It's a really awesome thing. And I think that's one of the things that ties our programs together. Leader in Me has a component of a morning meeting, class meeting. PBIS, there's lots of different morning meeting and class meeting type topics you can discuss, because we have to model and show students what we're expecting. Olveus, our bullying prevention program, has topics for morning meetings. So our teachers, our instructors have lots of different things that they can pull together and have a morning meeting. We have some teachers, because of schedules and whatever, they have a class meeting. It's not right away in the morning, so they call it a little something different, but it's when the teacher can bring the class together at the carpet, somewhere more informal inside, behind their desks at their chairs, where they can talk and everybody has an opportunity to share, bring experiences to the table and learn from one another. It's really a great thing to observe.
And I know that sometimes in meetings, you can have those people who just kind of fade into the background. And those are the folks who you really want to engage, because they're the ones who can change the scores on some of the surveys too. So how do you go about getting those people involved?
Yeah, I can answer that. So at the middle school, we have a version, it's called Circle Up meetings. It's part of our restorative practices, which allows all students to have a voice, kind of what you're saying, Whitney. So we have a Circle Up meeting. Either students can call it or the teacher can call it, and some are scheduled through our Ramsway time every once in a while. So if we're noticing some trends in our school that we need to talk to our students about, the kids literally circle up. There's different versions of it. And we have a talking piece that, so there's rules for the Circle Up meeting, so all voices can be heard. The power in it comes that students talk about their feelings about certain things. So for example, if they witnessed, a student getting physically aggressive or something. Last year, we didn't really focus much on how it impacted all of our students, but now our students have a voice to talk about how things that are happening in our school make them feel. And then by the end of the Circle Up meeting, they're talking about possible solutions to overcome it. And then, so they're really working together, focusing on conflict resolution too. So we have a process that involves all students, and our Circle Up meetings, our Ramsway averages about 17, 18 kids. So it's a smaller classroom environment to give people more confidence and feel more comfortable to share their thoughts and feelings.
Excellent, thank you.
I just want to say a few things. Number one, Dr. Latham, thank you for taking this group to Cedar Falls. Sounds like that was an excellent leadership conference. I've heard nothing but compliments, and just almost wish I'd have went. But I hope you get that opportunity a lot and you take advantage of it. Delaware, your postcards, wow, 130 postcards, wow. And even more impressive, 110 phone calls. That takes time. That takes, if I was on the receiving end of one of those, that would be pretty positive. And Susan, I give you credit that you're going to read a book called Understanding the Rigor in a Classroom. that caught me by surprise. I'd like to maybe talk to you after you get through that, and I'll leave that at where it is. Michelle, thank you for letting me be a watchdog at 4 Mile. Thank you. It was well planned, and I had a great time. I was kind of dreading it, and then I was kind of sad it was over, but I thought I'm just going to embarrass my grandkids, and that probably did happen, but it still was good. And Mr. Nicodemus, the Ram ambassadors, the 4 of us, man, I thought I was like a professional athlete or something. I mean, they were like cheerleaders when you walked in. I mean, they were great. And I don't know how you chose them, but you chose the right ones. Spring Creek, the wind period, the Ramway, 20 minutes a day academic support, and the high school. Man, the MTS is something I've always been a cheerleader for, and see the positive results, Steve, is just amazing, just amazing. I'm so proud to be part of this school district, but one question is not a negative one, it's just an information one. And maybe it's more towards the elementaries, but you know, I want to know how much you allow parents to be involved, because, you know, I do work a lot with PTAs because of my playground stuff, but I know I know we have a safety team and we've done a lot. We have the double entrances. We have I don't know the names of all the A phones or the quick background check when you put in your driver's license, you know, especially if there's a parent custody battle. I know we're taking all those great precautions, but I hope we're not losing our parents. I mean, what I mean by that, again, elementaries, are they invited to some of your school parties? Are they invited to be chaperones on field trips? Because, you know, especially the ones you really, really know because they're on your PTA or you've vetted them somehow. I'd like to hear just quickly from each of the elementaries, do you allow it? Do you not allow it? So I just would like to see it open back up. Like, I don't know. I mean, it seemed like during COVID, no visitors, which is the way it had to be. But
Recently, we just had some parent volunteers help out with our book fair.
okay,
And so I do feel like at 4 Mile, we do, and I think the other surrounding schools too, and invite the parents, and the parents want to be there.
yeah, they do.
It was actually hard for them when we had to tell them that we couldn't let them in.
Right.
It's really a good thing now.
So it is kind of opening back up.
Yes, definitely.
Good to hear that.
Yes, I mean, we have more and more families joining us for lunch again, which is wonderful. We love that. Sometimes on field trips, we always invite families to chaperone. Sometimes it depends on where we're going for the field trip because of space.
Sure.
So they'll give us a certain number per group of kids that you can bring. But if it's not restricted, like, I mean, when our kindergarten class had their field trip this fall, it was a bonanza. I mean, I think we almost had more adults than kids. And I don't know if I'm exaggerating, to be honest. But yeah, and then we obviously have watchdogs at the fun run day. It was open. It does make things crazy. Not going to lie, when they have to come in and get their ID scanned, there's a backlog at the door, but the families were awesome about it. I mean, they knew that this is for the kids' safety and we're trying to keep everybody protected. We have just made it very clear, come early. Like if you're going to come to an event and you need to get your ID scanned, you better come early. But yeah, it's pretty much open door again.
Good.
Yep.
Good.
Go ahead, Chair. We've had, members of the community come in for different parties and stuff like that. And, we just want to make sure the doors are open, but we also want to make sure, we focus on the kids, protect the kids and the staff there at Reynolds and schools. And so, we had, some things we've learned over COVID about, the fall parties. We just had the fall party not too long ago. And we had, parents would come in, it was more kind of a social hour and it was just 50 people in the room. And so we kind of held back a little bit because the parties are for the students. And so we had a little flashback about it, but we also said, these are for the students. And so, but the doors are open on, for the students and the parents at all hours. It's just, during the fall party, we just kind of looked at it as like, one thing we learned is like, this is for the students, and we, the teachers, they kind of like control people. They like to have a little control. We have 50 people in the room. It's kind of chaos. And so the teachers, they did have volunteers come in, and, we love having parents come in and work with the kids to read. And so doors are open, but we also learned some things from it. And so I appreciate the teachers for, their flexibility and understanding. And so we will adjust as the year goes on. And so, but that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah, I was going to touch on that the same too. We did learn a lot when we closed our doors. We didn't like that, but with parties, it's not an all day party. We're talking about a half hour, 45 minutes of the day that where, you know, we couldn't do school without our families. They donate so many of the activities, stuff, the packaged sugar, all that kind of stuff for those parties. But we hope as the year goes on, we'll get more and more parents in, but we have people showing up for lunch.
Right.
And we also have to be cognizant of like, not every student has that opportunity. We've got hardworking parents that don't have the opportunities to come in. How are we communicating home so that they do feel like they have a piece of their child's day? We have lots of new cultures that are constantly introduced to our district too, where come to school, what? No, they're yours right now. You know, so it's how are we being creative to, you know, to involve everybody and really use their voice, even if they're showing up or if they're, you know, reporting in remotely through Zoom or if they're calling in or whatever that might be, we're putting all that information together to be better.
Thank you.
Spring Creek's a little bit unique. We're literally in the middle. So a lot of our families are just coming out of the elementary, but they still want to be engaged, but their kids don't want them to be engaged. So we kind of find that balance. A good example, we just had our fall festival. We do ours in the evening in the hopes that we can get more families. We had outstanding attendance. Like we were just simply amazed at how many parents were able to show up. And part of our equity plan, we make sure parents can get there. So if transportation was needed for students or families, we were going to offer that for them. It was a free event. We wanted anybody and everybody to come. Again, we don't want any barriers. We want them in our building. So we don't get a lot of requests to come in during the day, just because I think kids don't want their parents there during the day. But we are coming up with creative ways to stay engaged with our families and have them be a part of it. And I would say our communication plan in our school, we are heavily engaged with our families. They know what's going on in our school. They know how they can help and how they can support. And so they're kind of still involved, but in the backseat a little bit.
Sure.
I would just echo, I know, Rick, you talked about the Watchdog program, and we've been using that also at Delaware, and we had to pause it during the pandemic, and we got it started back up, and it's really started strong this year. And the interesting thing is I was standing in the hallways kind of recruiting, it's for the dads and the uncles and the grandparents to come in and volunteer, because you often get, for some reason, the moms to volunteer a lot. And so the moms seem to sign up the dads very quickly. It's been really good, though, very positive. And we have some kids that we just don't do it for academic concerns, that for those that need those emotional connections with and gentlemen.
Yeah, and as far as everything else goes, very similar to everyone else, fall parties, I think, is the only area that we didn't bring anyone in yet. And I think that's more for me to process what that looks systematically. Just like you said, you can't open it up to everyone, but we had everyone in the building last year at the end of the year to celebrate. And we had a line that stretched as far back as like, I don't know what that side street is that we get phone calls about all the time, but it's that one. And so learn from that and make sure you do all of that in advance. So you can do all of that in advance on Raptor, which makes things so much easier. So for Veterans Day, all those things coming up next week, we're kind of facilitating that ahead of time so we don't have that line outside the door. But we have people coming in for lunch. We have some parent volunteers that come in and read. And we just had a great field trip, and we have parent volunteers at that as well. So I think that's a voice that we heard as well. Just like we're kind of like willing to come in, and if we want to come in. I don't know if I've ever sent out an email that said who wants to come in yet, but we definitely are. You know, if someone reaches out, we're setting those that time aside for them. So yeah.
Thank you.
I'm just going to jump in and say I had the pleasure yesterday, early morning, of the Career Technical Advisory Council. And I'm always so impressed with the staff and the students. There were students interacting this yesterday morning. But I see nothing but positive, continuous growth in that program, and a great connection to the community, the businesses, and amazing opportunities for all of our students in the future, as well as this current school year. So anyway, accolades.
CTE advisory. Homegrown creation, it's a state requirement. And and it seems like other schools have more of a challenge to get their community members to get into their schools to be a part of that committee. And our community is outstanding, you know, in every facet of CTE. And we were just talking about that today, about the participation rates of our community and the value that they provide, you know, with really shaping our programs. And, you know, this registered apprenticeship piece is just going to grow. So, you know, I appreciate your comment, and we're fortunate because it's not like this everywhere else. In some districts, it's that required committee you have to have that really never moves the needle.
Yeah, it's quite impressive in our school district.
Just the takeaways is the enthusiasm. I enjoy the school visits. I enjoy these. Sometimes it's because I go to the schools, it's kind of like we're going to hear the same thing, but it's good to hear it because that rejuvenates everybody. I think the great thing out of that is every one of you accepts where we're at. We know we came out of COVID. I heard COVID mentioned several times, and we know we came out of COVID, and none of you like where we're at. And I think that's what's really good is we don't sit here and make excuses of, well, our numbers are down because of this. We know they're down. We know they're going to be down for a while. And so I appreciate not just, you know, just coming in, talking straight and like, look, you know, Nicodemus says, we're not where we want to be with our fifth grade. We're not, you know, smoking mirrors, and we're just stating the facts. The individual attention that our students get from everybody. For me, data, I'm not a data guy. I'm just this is what we've got and this is what we're going to work with. And I think data is important. Obviously, it is. It helps us figure out where we're at as a whole. But I think the individual attention that you guys give the students, because we don't have a choice in public education of, you know, we get every, you know, from, you know, the ones that really struggle to the ones that are really, you know, succeeding and excelling and their things. And I think we do a fine job. I mean, and that's again where I appreciate acknowledgement that, you know, look, we need to do better, but here's where we're going. And each year, that's the thing, because I was thinking here is like, what do we do different? And I think I kind of answered that for myself as looking through these is like, well, we're always, as Joellen said, we're always changing. It's we're not just putting these documents out here and saying, oh, that's good enough, throw it on the file and we'll walk away. So that's what I want to say thanks to, is just that individual attention. Obviously with Leah here, she's new to her role, but not new to what's going on in special education. And that just shows that each year we have a special education deficit to show that we have those needs, and we keep trying, you know, and it's beyond our control. So I appreciate just the openness and keep pushing forward mentality.
I'll give you guys a quick thank you as well. You guys helped me out a ton tonight. So I came in worried as all get out. So I've been giving Joellen a little grief saying, why are your goals so weak? What's going on? I need a plan. I need a direct plan. But now I know why. So as far as, I mean, great people underneath, right, that are doing. And last year it was like, love our students, hug our students, make them feel like there's somebody at our schools. And then this year it's that focus that you guys have as far as not worried about where we're at, but where we're going. And so I'm super impressed with all of you, other than Mr. Nick, who stalled his 3 minutes, but everybody else did a great job. Yeah, you were, yeah.
I
No.
want to say one more thing.
Reynolds,
Because
no.
everybody was talking about, you know, being student focused and words mattering and definitions mattering. And I heard many of you talk about equity. And I really like how you guys understand equity of removing barriers so that people have access to things, you know, and that to me really hits the mark, because it's not about everybody having the exact same results. It's about everybody having the access to at least try to get those results. So I appreciate that, because not every district is like that.
Yeah, you guys really did. I mean, knocked it out of the park.
Yeah.
So I'll say thank you because I mean, you made me all feel way, way better.
You
And
can
I
tell
mean, you
the
talked
other
about,
schools that you
Yes.
hit it out of the park in the bar.
yeah, and I'm looking at the Delaware proficiency goal that was like 15% higher. And I'm like, now Joellen, that's what I'm talking about.
So those buildings get here, then you're gonna see
So,
what it looks like.
Yeah, you guys did fantastic.
Yeah, I think Southeast Polk's a pretty special place to be. So, I do thank everyone who came to share their story tonight. I wish everyone could have an hour to share because there's that much great stuff going on. And I really appreciate the dialogue back and forth with the board. That's a really wonderful thing and opportunity to be able to have, and it continues to move us forward. And everyone in the room wants the same thing for our kids, so we appreciate all the efforts that go into that. So thank you. Thank you for your time this evening. Thank you to everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Need a motion to adjourn?